Thank you for providing your opening address, but we all saw in prime time last night some of the real life stories of some of the families impacted by this budget, where some people are actually saying that they're worse off. What I'm going to talk about today is about the minimum wage and the failure of the government to move to a living wage. So the delay in replacing the national minimum wage with a living wage will cost the country's lowest paid workers €600 a year. So that's going to be, there's going to be people that are struggling as it is, they're going to be €600 less well off. So yesterday, the Minister for Finance, Pascal Donoghue, confirmed the minimum wage would increase by 65 cents on January 1st, a rise of just under 5%, taking it from 13.50 to 14.65. So this new rate will mean that it will bring pay from people that are earning a 39-hour week. Their pay is going to go from €526 to €551.85 to an annual salary of €28,696. So up to 200,000 people earn the minimum wage in Ireland, a group disproportionately made up of women, younger people and people with disabilities, and many of the sectors where they work in are in retail, hospitality and service industries. And it's acceptable to accept, it's very hard for us to accept that the minimum wage workers are being shortchanged up to €600 by a government at a time when the labour market, and we're always saying that it's always been bragged about, which is great, that the general economic environment has never been stronger. And the National Youth Council of Ireland has come out also about the criticism of the lack of movement on the sub-minimum rates to pay to younger people, and I'd also support this, and it was recommended under the Low Pay Commission. And I know that the VAT cut to hospitality sector has been widely criticised, and we as a party were one of the first ones to criticise this. And the argument has always been, what about the amount of employers, what about the work that it doesn't, that their employers in all small towns and villages, and that absolutely is true. But we could have given targeted support to small cafes and restaurants instead of, and we could have given by having cuts to commercial rates, and with energy supports would be a lot better than giving us blanket VAT rate to people like Burger King and McDonald's, who definitely don't need it. I just want to address the issue of housing, and there's some very welcome things in it that we, as a party, we've been calling for years for the derelict sites levy to be collected by revenue, which is absolutely brilliant and it's long overdue. And we can see, I suppose, that finally now that the government will have some teeth, there'll be some teeth put into this scheme. I'm delighted to say about the Living City initiative has been moved to Sligo in my town, which is really welcome, and it's going to bring a lot of our derelict properties back into use, which is absolutely fantastic. But something that I have to raise is there was people living, there was nothing in this budget for defective homeowners. There was no change to the defective box scheme, and there's still no 100% redress. Which, I mean, if anyone that takes a trip up to Donegal will see the devastating crisis that is up there, and it's going to be, and it is extended to every other country as well, the other county, pardon, as well. During the election, I'm going to just talk briefly about childcare. And during the election, I suppose government parties are tripping over themselves to say there's going to be so much change in childcare. I know Senator Tully spoke about the building block scheme, and this is a really good scheme, but it hasn't been implemented, it hasn't been delivered on. And I know in particularly my area as well, like everywhere across the country, it's been cried out to being delivered on, and it hasn't. There's too many stumbling blocks in the way, and it's very, very notoriously difficult to maintain. So I don't know how anyone that wants to add extensions onto their existing buildings, they need to apply consultants now to be eligible for this grant. I just want to, I suppose it is a mark of a country how it treats our vulnerable, and there has been very welcome, and our elderly, there has been very welcome steps addressing the acute shortage needs of beds in the northwest, which is very welcome with the commitment to opening 2 surgical hubs, both in Letterkenny University and Sligo University Hospital. But there's a lack of step-down facilities in the northwest. It actually emerged last week that a patient who was medically discharged from Sligo University Hospital, but was there for 2 years because there was no community services for him to go. The INMO have hit out also about the hospitality sector, saying that the government failed to heed the advice of the Fiscal Advisory Council, and they said 11,400 additional nurses could have been employed. So just finally about basic income for artists, I have no doubt that Senator Noonan's going to speak about it. I'm just wondering, it's so welcome, the basic income for artists, but there was a cut to the arts budget, and is that going to be a playoff that there's going to be a basic income for artists on one hand, and then for other arts organisations that the money is going to be taken away from?